Okay, Erev Tov, good evening, everyone. Tonight we are going to continue with our Gemara, speaking about the concept of being preoccupied in your thoughts on different things and not being able to focus, ruminating over different thoughts. We're going to speak about that, about our thoughts getting in the way of our productivity, our what you call analysis paralysis. We're going to talk about that. If you're a very calculated person, you might experience this. If you're not a calculated person, then you probably don't experience this. Just go through life, go with the flow. Tonight we're going to speak a little bit about a chatan on his wedding day, and he has anxiety. We'll speak about that, and then we'll also continue with Raban Gamliel. Just quickly to recall, we had the last MISHNA that we had spoke about Raban Gamliel, or actually there was a rule in our MISHNA that said chatan patur mikriyat shema laila harishona. This is the MISHNA that we learned on Tetzayin Amud Aleph. Says the Chatan doesn't need to say Shema on the night of his wedding, from that Wednesday night through Saturday night, because he's so focused on fulfilling the mitzvah of being with his wife that his mind is preoccupied. So we're going to speak about that tonight, expand. But just as an aside, Raban Gamliel got married, and on his wedding night, he said Shema Yisrael, and his students asked him, "Why are you saying Shema Yisrael? You taught us that you don't need to say Shema Yisrael." And he said, "What? You think I'm going to stop from saying Shema? You can't hold me back even one minute of accepting on Malchut Shamayim. I want to accept Hashem." Okay, so that teaches us that I guess you can do it if you want. We're gonna expand on that story tonight. So we're going to now go into the topic of a chatan being patur on the night of his wedding. Before we start, there is a rule that tells us that when you're involved with one mitzvah, you're patur from another mitzvah. What is that rule called? Okay, and you gave a delayed answer, but you said it very clearly, so you get the credit. Yeah. You just said it loud and clear. Osek bemitzvah, patur min mitzvah. The source of this rule, anyone know? Say it. Oh, you got it. Berachot Yud Aleph. That's a good guess, and it's correct. The answer is on Berachot Yud Aleph. It's also here. The concept is on this daf, on that Tetzayin Amud Aleph. It's also Mesechet Sukkot, daf Chafei Amud Aleph. So let's go ahead, learn about the chatan being patur, and understand why it is that he's patur. Here we go. Picking up from the Gemara, Mesechet Berachot, daf Tetzayin Amud Aleph, 16A. If you're looking in the art scroll, it's 16A4, and it's the break that says chatan patur mikriyat Shema. The chatan is patur from reciting the Shema the night of his wedding, for the first 4 days at least, until he consummates his marriage through having relations with his wife. Rabanan, we learned in a Braita. It says in the Shema Yisrael that you should say Shema b'shivtecha beveitecha. What does that mean? B'shivtecha beveitecha. When you're sitting at home doing nothing. But prat leosek bemitzvah. That comes to exclude someone who is involved with the mitzvah does not need to say Shema, right? Who has to say Shema? The one who's sitting at home. But if you're going and doing a mitzvah, you don't have to say Shema. That's what it's saying here. That phrase of you need to say Shema when you're sitting at home, comes to exclude one who is involved with the mitzvah who is not obligated to say Shema. You have to say Shema when you're going on the way, when you're traveling on the way. That is coming to exclude a chatan. So who is the person that needs to say Shema? Someone who is leisurely traveling. But a chatan who is involved with a mitzvah does not need to say Shema. That's the source. Mikan Amru, the Braita takes it a step further and says, based on this source, there's a distinction that they make. Depends on whom you are marrying. Hakoneset betula patur. One who marries a virgin woman is patur, is exempt from reciting Shema. But if he is with a non-virgin woman, chayav, he is obligated to say the Shema. Okay? So first, the Gemara is, now this was the Braita. Braita tells us, B'shivtecha beveitecha, prat leosek b'mitzvah, B'shivtecha beveitecha, that phrase of, you say Shema when you're sitting at home, that comes to exclude if you're doing a mitzvah. Uvlechtecha v'aderech, prat l'chatan, the phrase of, you say Shema when you're traveling, going on the way, that comes to exclude a chatan on his wedding night, that he is exempt from saying Shema. And then finally it says, but there's a distinction between whom he is marrying. If he's marrying a betula, a virgin, he is patur from Shema, but if it's a non-virgin, an almana is chayav. Now the Gemara wants to say, how does one imply the other? Yes. You don't have to say Shema, correct. Very good. Okay, so what is the difference between B'shivtecha bebeitecha, that's prat osek bemitzvah, and Uvlechtecha b'derech, that's prat lechatan, right? The first phrase is coming to exclude someone who's doing a mitzvah. The second phrase is coming to exclude a chatan. What's the difference between someone who's involved with a mitzvah and a chatan, that they need to be separate teachings? What is the difference? Okay, the answer is, we're talking about the chatan even when he's not doing the mitzvah. It's not that the chatan is patur at the time of having relations. Of course, at that moment, but it's even before the moment. It's because he's preoccupied. The difference between b'shivtecha bebeitecha is coming to teach you, if you're actively involved in a mitzvah, you're patur. Actively involved. Uvlechtecha b'derech is saying, if you're not actively involved, but your mind is preoccupied by it, you're also patur. So, okay, so in what case? It's a good question. We're going to expand on that tonight. And you know what? Let me just expand by a question that Richard said. Richard, when was your birthday? 2 weeks ago? Your bar mitzvah parsha? 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So Richard is an excellent Torah reader. For some reason, he gets nervous. I don't know why. Because he's a professional Torah reader here. But he says that whenever he has to read the Torah for a week before, like a chatan, before his wedding night, he can't focus on anything. So he wants to know if he's patur from saying Shema, right? Did you say Shema that morning? Yeah, you did. Okay, good. Okay, very good. So that's like part of the question. Yeah.
Why do we need the Gemara to derive from the verse that we are patur for osek mitzvah? We already have a rule that says osek mitzvah.
Oh, okay. Hear this. Kevin's asking, why does the Braita need to give us a source for osek bemitzvah, patur min mitzvah? We already know that rule. We know the rule of osek mitzvah, patur min mitzvah, right? We know there's a rule. Here you have a Braita that says, b'shivtecha bebeitecha, prat osek bemitzvah. But don't I already know that from the rule? What's the answer, Ilan? This is the rule. This is where you're learning it. See, Kevin, you know this already, so you know it, and then once it becomes so ingrained with you, you say, why do I even need the source? But this is the source of the mitzvah. Now, it happens to be, when we learned this Gemara earlier, actually, when this is taught in Masechet Sukkah, the Gemara actually says the phrase of osek b'mitzvah patur min mitzvah. Here it doesn't say that exact quote, but there, from this, it's saying this is the rule of osek b'mitzvah patur min mitzvah. So the answer is, this is the source. This is the source of how we know that rule. Okay? Here we go. So now the Gemara is going to say, my mashma. How is this inferred from that? Okay? The words my mashma means, you just gave me a teaching. Can you close that door if you don't mind? Oh, perfect. Mr. Azizi, can you close the door on your way in? Thank you. My mashma. Oh, someone left it open on purpose? Sorry. Okay, so leave it. You're a Kohen. We asked you to do something and it was broken. So yeah, just leave it. Even if it was fixed, I shouldn't ask you to do it. It's okay. Leave it. Yeah, I asked the Kohen to do something and the thing was broken. All right, I'm sorry. Gabriel, can you break the door? It's already broken.
Rip the kickstand off.
Okay. So here, my mashma means, how does this imply that? Okay, my mashma, how does this imply that? It says, when you're saying Shema, you should say Shema when you're sitting in your home. Oh, you're sitting in your home? I don't need to say Shema when I'm doing a mitzvah. So we want to understand that logic. How do you go from, when should you say Shema when you're sitting at home? From there, I learned that I don't need to say Shema if I'm doing a mitzvah. Let's follow that train of logic. My mashma, how does this imply that? Okay? Amar Rav Papa, ki derech. Rav Papa says, because it uses the word derech. Derech, when it says uvlechtecha v'derech, you're traveling on the way, that means it's something that you chose to do. No one forced you to travel. You're choosing to travel. It's discretionary by nature. So ma derech reshut, just as going on the way is optional and is discretionary, afachaname reshut. So too, all cases of Shema are when you're doing discretionary actions. This is what the Gemara wants to say. The Gemara wants to say, These phrases are coming to tell you that if you're doing a mitzvah, you don't need to say Shema. Well, how do you know that? What does one lead to the other? Rav Abba says, because derech is a non-mitzvah action. When you're going on the way, you're traveling, that's not a mitzvah. So since it's not a mitzvah, when are you supposed to say Shema? When you're doing something that's not a mitzvah. But the Gemara is not just going to say, hold on a second. Going on the way, 100% is not a mitzvah. What happens if you're going on the way to do a mitzvah? Why is it that going on the way means, oh, you're not doing a mitzvah? What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to stick at home, and the second I start walking, I'm not doing a mitzvah anymore? What if I'm doing Tomchei Shabbat? Are you considered uvlechtecha v'derech if you're driving to deliver packages for Tomchei Shabbat? That's like literally uvlechtecha v'derech. You're literally going and you're doing mitzvahs as you're going. So that's what the Gemara is going to ask. Milo askinan. Are we not dealing with a case the ka'azil lidvar mitzvah that he could be traveling on a way of a mitzvah? Just as much as derech could be a non-mitzvah action. Yeah, you could be going for a leisurely walk in the park, but it could also be that you're going to do a mitzvah. So it says you should say Shema when you're going on the way. Oh, going on the way, not a mitzvah. So that means you only say Shema if you're not doing a mitzvah. Who said? What if derech means a mitzvah also? Say Shema when you're going on the way to do Tomchei Shabbat. Oh, then derech, then you have to say Shema no matter what, even if you're doing a mitzvah. That's what the Gemara is going to ask. The Torah says, say that when you're on the way. On the way, maybe it means mitzvah, and it says you have to say Shema, which means I need to say Shema even if I'm doing a mitzvah. Imken, the Gemara says, no. You know how I know? From a very precise reading. Lemakra belechet. The pasuk could have said, if the pasuk wanted to include going on the way to do a mitzvah, it shouldn't have said belechtecha. What does the suffix cha mean? Your. It belongs to you. Possessive. Lechtecha means you're traveling. If it wanted to say all types of traveling, you should say Shema on all types of traveling, whether it's a mitzvah or not. What could it have said? You should say Shema belechet, even if you're traveling. But when it says belechtecha, you're traveling, it's like anytime that you choose to travel on your terms, meaning you're doing a discretionary act. You're choosing to travel for yourself. So that's what it's saying. Lemakra belechet. If it would have said in traveling, that would be inclusive of all types of traveling, whether it's a mitzvah or not. My belechtecha. When the pasuk says you should say Shema when you're traveling, Shema mina, that we learn from there, we can deduce belechet didach hu midechayevet. You're a chayav in Shema when you're going on your way. Say Shema belechtecha when you go to do your own dealings, when you're dealing with your own stuff, when you're going on your own way. The mitzvah petirat. But if you're involved with the mitzvah, you're patur. Okay? Lots of questions.
Big question.
Okay, let's hear your big question.
Things like talking in that. So why just picking on this left?
Okay, so the truth is if we look back the Gemara Masechet on Daf Yud Aleph, it actually does say both of them. It says my b'shiftecha u'v'lechtecha. It actually asks it on the whole pasuk, the all of the chaz. Meaning, you're asking a good question of, why is the whole sentence in the possessive form? The b'shiftecha, when in your sitting, but if you're sitting to do a mitzvah, you don't have to. Belechtecha, in your going, but if you're going to do a mitzvah, you don't have to. So your question of why are you singling this out? That happens to be this Gemara is singling this out, but the other Gemarot are including b'shiftecha also. Yeah, it could be. But this is how he's learning it. This is an extra suffix. It's saying you should say Shema when you're sitting or when you're going. Yeah. Okay, very good. It's a drasha. This isn't explicitly taught in the MISHNA and in the Torah, but it's a drasha. And we have this source, and look, the fact that it's not so clear is exactly what the Gemara is saying. Like, what happened? The pasuk says, "What's my source?" And it says, "B'shivtecha be'betecha" means you don't need to do mitzvah. The Gemara says, what does one have to do with the other? How do you get from A to B? If it were clear and obvious, the Gemara wouldn't ask that. The Gemara says, how did you get from A to B? Then it says, oh, because it says, "Belechtecha." It says baderech, on the way. What does that mean? Belechtecha baderech. You're going. So, okay, it's like a buildup of multiple words that are extra that's coming to teach us there's something here. And what is that? It's telling you only need to do this when you're involved with discretionary activities. Okay, let's keep going. Once you tell me that, okay, now we're turning to 16B on Yud Tezayin Amud Bet. Once you tell me that if I'm involved with a mitzvah, I don't need to say Shema, then a chatan, does a chatan need to say Shema? No, the chatan doesn't need to say Shema because he is doing a mitzvah. Oh, wait, we said it depends on who's he marrying. Why should it matter? If you're telling me that I'm only chayav to say Shema when I'm involved with discretionary items, man is getting married and he's happy to get married with a woman that's a non-virgin. How come he has to say Shema? What's the difference between a virgin and marrying a virgin woman and a non-virgin woman? What's the difference? He's involved with a mitzvah. Getting married, we're going, like according to the Rambam, getting married is a mitzvah. Sing you guys. Be'ezrat Hashem, inshallah, be'ezrat Hashem, you should fulfill this mitzvah very soon. According to the Rambam, you're doing a mitzvah by getting married, by building a bayit ne'eman Yisrael, having perurvu, having children. Okay, so ihachi, my irya hakoneset the betula. If it's true that when I'm involved with a mitzvah, chatan is involved with a mitzvah, he doesn't need to say Shema. So what difference does it make if he's married? If it only applies if he's marrying a virgin. Afilu koneset almana nami. Even if he's marrying a widow, he should be exempt from doing this mitzvah. So the Gemara says no. The difference between a chatan that's marrying a betula and a chatan that's marrying an almana is hacha tarid vehacha lo tarid. When he's marrying a betula, a virgin, his mind is preoccupied. There's a lot of thoughts on his mind. But when he's marrying an almana, he's not as preoccupied. So we spoke about this. Well, what's the difference? So it depends on what exactly the concern is. The way Elon said it was a performance anxiety. How maybe he's not sure what to do. But if, let's say, the woman was already with someone, maybe it eases some of his concerns because, okay, there's someone here that has experience. That could be one side of it. Or the other side of it, as I mentioned, another potential concern is that the man, when he's marrying a betula, he's going to find out on the night of his wedding if she were lying to him. And he's getting married under this preconception that she's a virgin. And then he says, what happens if tonight I find out she's not? Then I'm going to find out she's lying. Then it's going to be an uncomfortable conversation. Then the man's mind is going all over the place. But if he knows that she's been with another man before and he's okay with that, that's it. So there's no thoughts of, am I going to find out? You already know. So these are the two potential concerns of whether, the performance anxiety or whether I find out that maybe she wasn't honest. So those don't apply to an almana, a widow. So because of that, he's not as preoccupied. And since he's not as preoccupied, he's chayav to say Shema. Okay, so you're following the chains here. The chain is that if someone is involved with a mitzvah, he's patur. If someone is not involved, but he's thinking about it, it's going to depend on how preoccupied he is. If he's preoccupied like he's marrying a virgin, he's patur. But if he's not so preoccupied like he's marrying an almana, a widow, he's chayav. The Gemara says, oh, so now the whole distinction is whether he's preoccupied. I have a question. What if you're in the stock market and all of a sudden your stocks are crashing? Okay, I don't know. I guess the market is closed during the evening. So maybe you live across the world and the market is open in here. Okay, or let's see the example of what the Gemara says. What is it? Futures. Oh, okay. So you're talking about some sophisticated stuff here. I have no idea what you're saying. I'm kidding. I know. If it's because you're preoccupied, if the whole litmus test is whether I'm preoccupied, what happens if his ship is sinking at sea, which is again, it's a metaphor. for this idea of you're losing your money. You're preoccupied with something. You put your money in Bitcoin and all of a sudden it dropped down to zero. Or you bought some oil futures and all of a sudden something happened with OPEC or something. Like one of these things happened that I can't say Shema right now. My mind is too preoccupied with this. So the Gemara says, is it the case that now I'm patur because I'm preoccupied? Alama Amar Rabbi Abba Bar Zavda Amar Rav. I know that can't be the case. You know why? Because Rav said the following: Avel chayav b'chol mitzvot ha'amurot b'Torah. An avel, a mourner who is preoccupied, the person just lost his father, Shalom, just lost his mother, just lost his child, just lost someone beloved to him. His mind is not there. It's like, can you ever expect someone to like more than this situation, like that you need to give him some time? This person is avel. The Torah, the Rav tells us he's chayav in all of the mitzvot, including Shema Yisrael. Chutz min tefillin, except for one mitzvah of tefillin, shahare ne'emar ba'en pe'er, for a very specific reason. What's the specific reason why an avel does not need to wear tefillin? Which, by the way, nowadays we do, but I'll explain in a moment. But just before you talk about like what's going on nowadays, halacha, this is what the Gemara is saying. Rav tells us that an avel is chayav in all of the mitzvot except for tefillin specifically. Why is he not chayav in tefillin? Because the pasuk refers to tefillin as pe'er. Pe'er is glory. It's like a crown of glory. Shne'emar pe'ercha chavosh alecha. Is a pasuk by Yecheskel. Yecheskel's wife dies, and Hashem tells him in that particular situation that he's not allowed to mourn. Hashem gives him a nevuah, says, you don't mourn. Don't do any of the practices the mourners do. Whatever the mourners do, don't do. Wear your tefillin. So if Hashem tells Yecheskel, don't do any of the practices of mournings, but you should wear tefillin. Your glory you should put on your head. You're learning that an avel does not wear the tefillin. Doesn't have that pe'er, that glory. So Rav is teaching us, and I'm going to explain about halacha ma'aseh, shalom eda. But right now, Rav is telling us the following: an avel is chayav in all of the mitzvot, except for tefillin, for a technical reason that it's not fitting for a mourner to put a crown on his head. But other than that, he's chayav in all of the mitzvot. Can you think of anyone that's more preoccupied than an avel? The guy is thinking about his lost father, thinking about the tragic loss. So if there's a tragedy and he's chayav, so going back to the question about the guy whose stocks are sinking, right? Is he chayav in Shema? The difference between a chatan that's marrying a betula or marrying an amana is, you said betula, he's preoccupied, doesn't need to do it. Amana, he's not preoccupied, he needs to. If the whole thing is about preoccupation, then does that mean if someone's losing a business? Or what about an avel? Avel is preoccupied. So the Gemara is going to give us the final kicker line here. Amri hatam tirda dereshut hacha tirda de mitzvah. The answer is the preoccupation, the thoughts that you have. Is it something that you're required? Is that part of a mitzvah? Are you preoccupied in a mitzvah or preoccupied in a non-mitzvah? So if a guy's losing money, he's preoccupied, but not in a mitzvah. You don't have a mitzvah to sit there crying about your money. You might want to, but that's not a mitzvah to do it. You also don't have a mitzvah of avelut to sit there and cry over the person who's lost. There's mitzvot. The person has to not wear leather shoes. The person has to do kiryah. The person shouldn't shower. The person shouldn't do this. But nor does it say the person should become dysfunctional. That's not a requirement. So as long as it's not a mitzvah to be preoccupied on something, then you're chayav to say Shema. For a few minutes, you have to control your thoughts and say Shema. But if it's a mitzvah, in the case of a chatan, that he has to get married, and he's preoccupied, but he's preoccupied with doing a mitzvah, in such a case, he is patur from saying the Shema Yisrael. Okay, I see we have a lot of questions. Go ahead, Richard. If you're reading the Torah. Say it again.
You said the reading Torah with the example because the question was what about like very apparent?
The mitzvah of kivura is absolutely a mitzvah. Yeah.
You don't have to say Shema.
Yeah.
It's like any
If someone is involved with the kibura, actually involved with the kibura, they would not need to say Shema. That's exactly correct. That's a good example of osek mitzvah, patur mitzvah. Even thinking about it, if you're thinking about how to strategize of how do I do this the right way, like let's say someone's doing the thoughts of the engineering of how to dig a thing. That also, it's thoughts of preoccupations of a mitzvah. The person would be patur from saying Shema. That's a good example. Yeah. Yes.
Parts that should come these two exams, the signature and
This entire flow of the Gemara is copy paste from Daf Yud Aleph. We learned this entire Gemara. Yeah, I know. It's great. The questions come out this time though. Yeah. Very good, Richard. I'm going to ask you to answer his question because I'm pretty sure I gave this exact thing. Richard said that he's thinking about when he's reading the Torah, and I said when I'm giving a speech at a wedding. Yeah. Okay, so Richard, you want to answer him? Yeah, it's not a mitzvah from the Torah to give a speech at a chuppah. I'm doing something nice. Yes, I'm making him happy. But Hashem doesn't say I should say Shema b'shoch b'chav. I should give a speech b'shoch b'chav kumecha.
Stretch anything good. It's like your money is like the terms that you provide for everyone.
Right. Why am I worrying about the stock market falling? Because I was going to give 10% to charity. Now I can give the 10% to charity. Those futures are OPEC. I'm thinking about the mitzvah of thing. Okay, fair enough. You're asking a very good question there. Okay. You're asking good questions of the parameters of osek mitzvah, patur mitzvah. Do I get to choose? Do I get to choose which mitzvah I want to be involved with? Like, can I go and do the mitzvah of, let's say, Tomchei Shabbat, if I know that's going to preclude me from being able to do mitzvah? You're asking a very good question. Yeah, okay. But I'll leave it as that. Yeah. So this is, no. Okay. Good point. Let's refine this. According to the Rambam, it's a mitzvah to get married. Okay. The Torah does not prescribe which woman that you need to marry. It would have been amazing if we had that. Imagine the Torah told you who you had to marry. It'd be so good. You go out on a first date and you said, I saw it in Sefer Vayikra, so I'm not even going to spend any money on you. I'm just going to marry you because it says what?
It tells the Cohen to marry.
Okay, it tells the Cohen who you're not allowed to marry, right? You're not allowed to marry. But you don't know who you have to marry. So does that mean that when I'm marrying this woman, I can say, well, the Torah doesn't say I have to marry you, so it's not a mitzvah. No, the Torah says get married and you choose which one you want to marry, right? So a person can get married to Betula, a person can get married to Almanah, but it's all a mitzvah. It just happens to be that the nature of this type of mitzvah, it gets into my head and this one doesn't. So because of that, the Torah says, if it's getting into your head, you don't need to say Shema. But if it's not, you need to say Shema. Now, you could really ask this question about, so for example, getting married, according to the Rambam, is a mitzvah. Giving a speech, speaking Divrei Torah, yes, it's a mitzvah, but I guess it's not a specific act of getting married. That's one of the 613 mitzvot. I guess studying Torah. You're asking a good question. We've spoken about, did we speak about the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, how it's unique? There's a unique law when it comes to the mitzvah of Talmud Torah vis-a-vis osek mitzvah patur mitzvah. We definitely saw it. Does anyone remember? There's more than that. Yeah.
Time for Shema, we just kind of like Liz, learning something out and went back to teaching.
Yeah. Okay. So the Rambam tells us in Hilchot Talmud Torah that when you're involved with one mitzvah, you don't need to get up and do another mitzvah. Now he says, but if you're involved with Talmud Torah, you have to ask a secondary question. I'm involved with Talmud Torah, and another mitzvah comes to me. I have to ask the following question. Very good. Can this mitzvah be fulfilled by others? If the mitzvah can be fulfilled by others, then keep studying Torah. Your osek mitzvah, patur mitzvah. But if this mitzvah cannot be fulfilled by others, then you need to close the book. You need to get up, and you need to go do the mitzvah. Why? Because the whole purpose of studying Torah is so that you could put it in practice. So here the practice comes, and you say, not for me. Doesn't work. If it's going to get taken care of, so that's fine. But if it's not going to get taken care of, you have to go. So the example I always love saying is, someone comes to me and says, Tuesday night, I need you to come do for Sheva Brachot. We didn't invite you to the wedding because you're not that close, but you're close enough that we want you at the Sheva, one of the Sheva Brachot because we need panim chadashot. So Tuesday night, come. I can say, it's a mitzvah. I could either come study Torah, teach Torah, or go do a mitzvah, right? So the question is there another person who could do it? Is there someone else that is not close enough that you didn't invite them to the wedding, but close enough that it's not awkward for you to invite them? Is there someone else like that comes to get some free food? Just say free food, yes. There'll be someone else who could do the mitzvah. So I don't need to do it. But push comes to shove. If there's no one else who could do it, yeah, get up and go. To make it a step further, let's say for example, there's a situation where there's someone that has no family, no friends, no family, no one. Getting married is a yatom. Let's say it's a convert, a ger, convert. He's getting married, he's a Jew, and he's getting married, and no one's showing up to his wedding. And like, I know the guy, but like actually no one is going. Should I close the book and go celebrate at his wedding? The answer is yes. Because this is not a situation that could be done by others. He doesn't have anyone. The guy doesn't have anyone. So in that situation, absolutely. Close, go study, go celebrate with him. So when it comes to Talmud Torah, specifically, the teaching of Torah, this is what the Rambam says. It depends on if efshar la'asot al yedei acherim or not. So that's why when it comes to Talmud Torah, there's a whole different discussion. The Vilna Gaon explains it as follows. The Vilna Gaon explains, and here, Elon, maybe this is also an answer, also Richard. The Vilna Gaon says, osek bemitzvah patur min mitzvah means when you're involved with one mitzvah, then you don't need to do another mitzvah. Okay? Talmud Torah, each and every word is a mitzvah bifnei atzma. Which means when you say one word, you finish the mitzvah. And you say the next word, you're doing another mitzvah. You're doing another mitzvah, you're doing another mitzvah, you're doing another mitzvah. It's not that you're involved with a single act of mitzvah. It's that every word that you say, you're starting a new mitzvah. So what comes with that is, if someone asks you to come do another mitzvah, you can't say, I'm involved, because you were involved with the last word, but you're not yet involved with the next word. This is the way the Vilna Gaon says it to like sort of make it fit. The Chavetz Chaim says that he once did this calculation, which actually is not that hard, that if you count up how many words someone can say in about a minute, I think he calculated you could get up to something like 200 words per minute. I think that's reasonable. I know some people that could get to 300 words per minute. They speak very fast. The Chavetz Chaim says if you do the math, if every minute you could do 200 mitzvot, count up how many minutes there are in an hour, times 200, how many hours there are in a day, how many mitzvot you could get in one day from Talmud Torah, the amount. So the Chavetz Chaim says this idea of like to push ourselves. That's why it's very important when someone does a Ta'anit Dibur. I'll say this and we have to move on. Ta'anit Dibur, like people like doing it on Yom Kippur, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't speak words of Torah. The contrary, the whole purpose is not to speak Lashon Hara, not to say other things, and instead to be focused on Talmud Torah. You should be saying it. We've spoken about this, the importance of speaking, the importance of Bekol, V'dibarta Bam. You should be speaking about them. It's a mitzvah. Okay, very good. Was there any other questions, or can we go? What? Okay, Elon. What are you doing? Okay. All right. Just a little bit of what do you think about Bibi? No.
Sorry, Rabbi, could I ask
yeah, go ahead, David.
Yeah. You're saying it as if it's a general rule that if you're preoccupied with mitzvah, then you're patur from Shema. But like the Berachot phrases b'shivtecha b'beitecha prat le'osek bemitzvah. So if phrased generally, making a rule, but then it's not so general with it's pretty defined where it's just a chatan. Is it a rule or is it just a chatan?
Very good. Okay, so David is asking the question of this whole concept. Are these general rules or specific rules? When you say b'shivtecha b'beitecha prat le'osek b'mitzvah, everyone say it with me. B'shivtecha b'beitecha prat le'osek b'mitzvah. Coming to exclude someone that's coming to do mitzvah. One more time. B'shivtecha b'beitecha prat le'osek b'mitzvah. U'v'lechtecha v'aderech. Everyone say it. U'v'lechtecha v'aderech prat le'chatan. So David is asking the question of prat le'osek b'mitzvah is a general statement of it's coming to exclude anyone who's involved in mitzvah. Prat le'chatan is a very specific type of mitzvah. It's a man who's marrying a virgin woman. Extremely specific. Is that also a general rule? That's David's question. The answer is the way Rashi explains, the way the Gemara also explains that yes, this is indeed a general rule. It's giving you an example to express. It's a lot easier. Prat lechatan, in one word chatan, it's teaching you it's someone who is preoccupied in the thoughts of a mitzvah. That's what it's trying to say. Tarid betirda de mitzvah. That's the rule. It's giving it as a specific, but this is the way the commentators all understand it, that it's a generalized rule. Okay? Very good. Let's keep going. Who can remind me what happened in our Mishnah with Raban Gamliel? Okay, very good. It doesn't say that, but you guys saw that? Very good, Andy. Raban Gamliel was getting married. It doesn't say to what type of woman, but Andy's understanding that clearly he's getting married to a virgin because the assumption of the Mishnah is that he's patur. So very good. Raban Gamliel was getting married to a virgin woman, and he said the Shema. So what happened? What are you doing saying Shema? You taught us that you don't need to say Shema. What does he say to them? Yeah. So he basically saying is that, look, you don't have to, but I want to. Basically, I want to say Shema. You're not gonna be able to hold me back from saying Shema even for 1 minute, okay? So Raban Gamliel had a pattern of doing this, of teaching certain rules, and then he would go above and beyond, or he would do something that it would change the law. And his students would always ask, but you taught us otherwise. Seems like his students were very in his face, but they were asking because they wanted to know what's the halacha. Yeah, it's a very important question to ask. One important thing about Raban Gamliel, who was he? Very good, Cody. He was the Nasi. Nasi means what? The president of the Sanhedrin. And he was from a great lineage of Nisiim. Who was his great-grandfather? Rabbi Yehuda Nasi was his great-grandson. No, his great-grandson. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi was the one that the end of the Mishnah. But yes, from Yehuda Nasi. Who said it? Very good, Hillel. Hillel HaZaken. So from Hillel, then just think about it like this. If you ever want to know someone in this lineage, what their names are, either guess Gamliel or Shimon. Because it's either Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, or Rabban Gamliel ben Shimon, Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, Rabbi Shimon, or ben Gamliel. And then at the end, the Rabbi Yehuda Nasi somehow got in there, and it started off with Hillel. So these are the names. It's a whole dynasty. Okay? So it's a very important family, very important person, very high profile, very wealthy. The president of the people, the head of the Sanhedrin, had a lot of money, very involved politically. He had friends in Rome during the times of the Romans. He had a friend, Antoninos. He was very well connected. Important, very important person. It could be that it wasn't his first marriage. It could be that it wasn't a first marriage. Most likely. Shammai was the second to Hillel. Hillel, they were contemporaries. He wasn't a child. Hillel and Shammai were number 1 and number 2 of the Sanhedrin, but it wasn't his son. So Shammai wasn't from that dynasty. Okay, let's go. Here we go. Fun stories. Matnitin. We are now learning the Mishnah on Daf Tetzayin Amud Bet. Rachatz Laila Harish. Oh, I didn't say the Avelut. I'm going to come back to the Avelut later because we have to go. Rachatz Laila Harishon Shemeta Ishto. Oh, here, Cody. Here's your answer. Raban Gamliel's wife died. Maybe he was getting remarried after this, his wife dying. But when his wife died, that night, it's during the Haft. They had the Kivura, they buried her. Comes, now it's the start of the second day of Avelut. It's the second day of Shiva. His wife died and he took a shower. Amrlo Talmidav, so his favorite students come up to him and says, Limatanu Rabbeinu, Rabbi, you were the one to teach us. She'avel asur lirchotz. An avel in his shiva is not allowed to shower. He's not allowed to bathe. What are you doing? So Amar lahem, in Andy's words, betoche. So what does he say to them? He says to them, Eni kishar bnei adam. I'm not like other people. Istenis ani. I am very sensitive. Istenis is translated as delicate. I'm very vos. Okay? There's certain people that shower, let's say once every 2 days. Certain people shower every day. And there are certain people that shower like 4 times a day. They're always washing their hands. They're always purelling. They're always very like, this is what you call an istanis, germy. What? OCD, specifically with cleanliness. Yes. I'm very OCD, is what he's saying. So what is he saying? His wife died. The second day of Shiva, they see him showering. The students say to him, Rabbi, you taught us that Avela is not supposed to shower. And he says, it doesn't apply to me because I'm an istanis. I will say that there are many, many, many opinions, contemporary opinions, including Rav Eliyahu ben Chaim and Rav Hershel Schachter, that say nowadays, people who are showering every day, they have a din, they have the law of an istanis. They wouldn't shower every day. Even back in Mashad, they would shower once a week in the local lake together with their friends. Showering every day, they wouldn't do it. So think about 2,000 years ago. I'm talking about like 50 years ago, 100 years ago in Mashad. 2,000 years ago, they weren't showering every day. So Raban Gamliel, he was very wealthy. He was very, very prominent. It's possible that he was showering more often. He could afford it. Maybe he had a bathhouse very close to him, that he could afford this, something like this. He wasn't just a regular person. So he's saying, I need to. I can't focus if I'm itchy. So I have to shower. So nowadays, you don't buy. Let me explain to you why. You can, because you have to understand the way Chachamim made their gezerot. Chachamim made a gezerah of not bathing during the Shiva, and we're going to discuss this in the Gemara. Not bathing during the Shiva is not a din d'oraita, it's not from the Torah. It's Chachamim established this. Why? Because they did not want people to enjoy in extraordinary pleasures. During this time of Avelut, it's not a time to go and get yourself involved with enjoyable activities. Bathing think about bathing as going to the spa. So Chachamim said, don't go to the spa for the Shivat Yimei Avelut. Don't go to the spa. But Raban Gamliel says, it's not meant to cause you pain. It's just a way to prevent you from enjoyable activities. So for the average person, bathing is a very enjoyable activity, so they should refrain from doing enjoyable activities, like going to a spa. But for me, says Raban Gamliel, this is not me engaging in an enjoyable activity. It's that I'm going to be in pain for doing this. And this is why I'm saying that, according to Raban Chaim, according to Rav Hershel Schachter, nowadays, everyone has this din. So what happens nowadays if someone wants to Avel Toch Shiva during their half, they want to go to the shower, tell them don't go. But if it's really, really, really bothering you, take a quick cold shower. Why? Because you have the din of an istanis. This is what we practically say, especially toward the end. 1 day, 2 days is one thing, but especially toward the end, up to day 5, day 6, some people they're going out of their minds, they're scratching all over. So in Iran, if you ask Mir Zaga, what would they do? Mir Zaga, I think it's based on the Ramah, is that they would do like a cloth shower. You basically take a cloth, wet, maybe you could add some soap or something, and you just do like a wipe down, like this. That halakha for sure you can do. But taking it a step further, you could even bathe in cold, quick shower. Why? Not to be enjoyable. It shouldn't be one of those 45-minute showers where you're singing as though you're performing an American Idol. You know, oh no, not like that. Quick, cold shower, get the sweat off. It's not an enjoyable activity. It's just to get the sweat off. Sorry? Basically to rinse yourself. You could also use soap. But you see the difference. There's one of, are you trying to partake in enjoyable activities, or are you just trying to remove the suffering, remove the what's the word? Discomfort. That's the difference. Okay. So this is what the distinction that Raban Gamliel told his students. He told the students, I'm not doing this as an enjoyable activity. I'm doing this because I'm an istanis. And if I'm an istanis, I'm doing it just to remove my discomfort, in which case it's allowed. It's not that he's bending the law. He's defining the law. He's explaining, he's clarifying the law. Not defining, he's clarifying the law. Let's keep going. Uchshemet, Tavi Abdo. And when Tavi, his servant, non-Jewish servant, he was not Jewish, he was an Evet Kanani, but he died, Kibel Alav Tanchumin. He accepted tasliyat. Tanchumin is words of comfort. People would come to him and say, I'm so sorry for the loss of Tavi, your non-Jewish servant. And what would he do? He said, "Thank you so much. He was a wonderful person. Thank you. I appreciate it. Zamat kardin, zamat keshidin." Like this, he would accept it. So Amrulot Hamidah, the student said to him, "Rabbi, limatan rabinu she'en mekablim tanchumin al avadim." You taught us that we're not supposed to accept words of consolation about your servant. You're not supposed to. Why not? You know what the issue is? What's the problem? Someone's kolfat died. So they come and they say, "She was such an amazing woman. I'm so sorry for your loss." You have to say, no, please don't. Why aren't you allowed to accept it? What's the problem with accepting it? What could come about from me accepting it? Okay, that's one idea. But me, a step less. Related. If someone is in your home and very involved with your home, and then they come and people give you consolation and you accept it, it's almost as though this person is part of the family. You might come to assume that this person was a Yehudi, person was Jewish. And okay, let's say this person has kids. You marry into the family. It's like part of the family. Can we marry them? I don't know, but I saw Raban Gamliel crying over it. People were hugging Raban Gamliel. People were coming to visit Raban Gamliel. Okay, marry his daughter. So part of what halacha is that when someone is an eved and so close to the family, this misconception happens. People don't know what exactly the relation is. It's not like people put it on their resume, "I am a slave." People don't do that. You don't know the background of who's who, how, why is this person here? All I know is that this person is always there. You don't know if this person's a Yehudi or not. So by accepting Techumin, it's almost as though saying like, yes, this is someone that I'm part of my family. Okay, maybe we're going to marry into the family. So that's where the halakha says not to. But now look what he says. So they say to him, why are you accepting Tanchumin over Tevi, your servant? Amar lahem, he responds, En Tevi avdi kishar kol avadim, because he's not like other servants. Kasher haya. He was very learned. He was a Talmid Chacham. So I'm not doing this for him. I'm doing this for the Torah that he understood. Remember, he was in the home of, imagine like Rav Yosef for someone, he had a chauffeur and the chauffeur is not Jewish, for example. And it happens to be the old word. Who? Someone else. I don't know. Maybe I don't think. Maybe it was. I don't know. But Tevi he was a Talmid Chacham. So Raban Gamliel says, yeah, granted, you're not supposed to, but in this situation, he had so much Torah. I'm not accepting the Tanchumin over him, but it's over the Torah that was with him. Then I have to give him that honor. Okay, 3 stories of Raban Gamliel teaching something, then doing something different. Story number 1. Taught Chatan does not need to say Shema on the night of his wedding, but he did. Student said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Can't stop this. I'm saying Shema if I want." Second story, showering when his wife died. Aver toch shiva, the night of the second night, showered. Said, "Well, you tell us not to." He says, "I'm in istanis. I'm very vasvas. I'm very delicate. I'm very OCD." Third case, you're not supposed to accept Tanchumin over your non-Jewish servant because people might come to think that he's a Jew and then marry into the family. Then Tevi died, his servant died. They gave him Tanchumin and he said, "Thank you very much." He accepted it. They said, "Why are you accepting it? You taught us that you shouldn't." And he says, Tevi wasn't the standard servant. He deserved it for what the Torah, the Chokhmah that he had. Okay? Yes. Yes, but in Eved Kanaani, so there are halachot against teaching Torah to Goyim, for sure, but in Eved Kanaani is chayav in some mitzvot. Eved Kanaani is chayav in mitzvot that are mitzvot aseh, but shazman mitzvot lo taseh. An Eved Kanaani is quasi. He's not Jewish, but he's chayav in some mitzvot. But also the idea here is that Tevi picked it up because there's a lot of situations where he would understand what Raban Gamliel wanted and he would do it. He would come to understand what Raban Gamliel is. You go to these weddings and you have the person who's like running the show. All of a sudden the guy comes up to me. He's like, "When's the chuppah? Is the guy doing this, doing that?" I just had this recently. This guy, the photographer, starts asking me a bunch of questions and he starts dropping a bunch of Hebrew words. And then I asked him, I'm like, "Are you Jewish?" He's like, "No, but I can be if I wanted to." This is like he said something like that. He's like, "I've seen all of this." he's like, what's your speech about? I'm like, he's like, there's this one guy, I love the speeches that he gives. He's a videographer. Yeah. So you see how, like, okay, you just around it. You're around it. It's not actively teaching. It's like passively the person when is around it. You know, the people who work here, they pick up some halachot. They understand certain things, right? Yeah. It's like a guy goes to a non-Jewish like goes to this is someone told me this. Someone said that he went to a hotel and he wanted to eat something and they were cooking eggs and stuff. So he calls the chef over and the chef says, I'm gonna get you a new pan. And a new pan will have eggs. And then this was like all he wanted was eggs. And then the chef said, and then I'm gonna take some potatoes and I'll double wrap it in aluminum foil for you. I won't put any salt and pepper in it. And I'm gonna take a sweet potato. I'm gonna wrap it. The guy said that I got all of my ideas of what to eat from the goy, from the non-Jew. He started telling me why? Because he's been around enough people. Now, I'm not telling you this is allowed. I'm not saying there's a lot of halachot about this stuff, but it was just very interesting. He was learning like what I can and can't do. Why? Because you're around it enough, you start picking up what people do. Okay, I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, but okay. I know you guys want to know if it's right or wrong, but well, I know if I just drop that and I'm gonna just keep moving. All right. So just some ideas of avelut. We're gonna continue, but just some ideas of avelut. We spoke about tefillin. Avel toch shiva, the 7 days of avelut, he's chayav in all mitzvot. During the period before the kibbura, he has the status called onen. Okay, actually, we know that the concept of an onen is immediately after they hear about the person passing away, even before the person is buried. That first day, he has a din of an onen, of aninut, and we know that that's a concept from the Torah. It's a concept that exists in the Torah itself. Does anyone know where we have the reference of an onen in the Torah? Oh, okay. Okay, very good. There are some unique halachot about Aharon HaKohen on the day of Hakamat HaMishkan. Okay, very good. That's an example. Very good. There's a word of onenut in the Torah. No. No. Oh no, that's the son's name was Onen. Yeah. No. You want me to give you a clue? It's this week's parasha. But you haven't seen it yet. Aliyat Sheni. You want me to tell you the words? I'll tell you exactly what it is. It says, it says when you're done with all of your ma'asrot in the 3rd year, you have to do what's called the vidui ma'aser. You have to go and you have to make a confession, and you say, Lo achalti be'oni mimenu. I did not eat from the ma'aser sheni. I did not eat from the ma'asrot when I was in my aninut. So here you see this. It's like a very quick statement. It's like, you want to come do this? You have to go and you have to say the following thing. And when you're saying it, you have to just agree that you did not eat any of this during the time of aninut. So you learn that during the times of aninut, there's certain things of kedusha that you're not allowed to eat. You see, there's a concept of aninut from the Torah. Okay, this is the source. This is the source where you see that there's a concept of the Torah. Now, the fact that it exists in the Torah, that's it. But the details is really all up to Chachamim. We know that it exists. What else do we know? The other thing we know from the Navi Yechezkel is no tefillin. So an onen does not wear tefillin. Shelo neda. Let's say, for example, someone finds out that the family relative is niftar, he should not wear tefillin that first day. There's a lot of discussion of what happens if the person was buried in one day. Sorry, they passed away one day, buried the next day. There's a lot of different opinions. So what they do in that situation is when they come back from the Beit Kibburot, they put the tefillin on then. Shelo neda, I hope none of you have to know any of these halachot or have to be involved with any of these halachot, but know that specifically for tefillin, there is a law that an onen, when he finds out on that day, he should not wear tefillin. He should not wear tefillin. There's other halachot of other mitzvot that he should do, should not do. There's a lot of discussion about this. Again, hopefully, it's not applicable then.
It's all covered in white katan.
Yeah, very good. So covered in what Katan, yeah. Also, Rabbi Moshe wrote a sefer on this, Shenot Chaim. Rabbi Moshe and Rabbi Avraham ben Chaim together they co-authored a book based on the psak of Rabbi Eliyahu ben Chaim. It's a very short book, very easy read.
That's the minhagim of our community.
Yeah. According to Rabbi Ben Chaim and Rav Nassim Basalian. Throughout the entire thing, they're quoting Mr. Basalian and Rabbi Ben Chaim. It's really a very special work. Okay, let's keep going. There's a reason why I said that, because of the next line in the Gemara. But before that, just we have a dissenting opinion. Our Mishnah continues. So after we quoted two more stories with Raban Gamliel, our Mishnah says, Chatan, a Chatan, im rotzeh likrot kriyat Shema layla harishon. Let's say he wants to say Shema that first night. Koreh, he's allowed to. So this is the rule that we saw with Raban Gamliel, because he wanted to say it and he did. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, and I hope you know based on the name that this is someone from the dynasty of Rabban Gamliel. So Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, he says, Lo kol harotzeh litelat Hashem ito. Not everyone who wants to assume a name is allowed to. What does that mean? Rabban Gamliel says, hold on a second. Sorry, Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says, hold on a second, time out. Who said, I'm going to say the Shema? Raban Gamliel. Raban Gamliel was a very important person. He was a Gedol Hador. He was the Nasi. Someone like that could control their thoughts and say, I'm going to say Shema. But Mr. Joe Schmo, don't think that you could say, I'm like Raban Gamliel. You're not in the same league as he is. So this is Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, almost like defending his father. He's coming and saying, Lo kol harotzeh litolat Hashem. Not everyone who wants to come and take the name of being a reputable person, Yitol, is allowed to come take it. Which means he's saying, don't say Shema. You're not supposed to say Shema on that night because you have to focus on your mitzvah. You're going to say, no, I could focus. I'm like Raban Gamliel. I could focus. Like, you know what? Save it. Don't be like Raban Gamliel. You're not Raban Gamliel. You're not that guy. This is what he said. You're not that guy. You have to say the Shema Yisrael. This is what Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says. Look, not anyone who wants to say Shema. You're not that guy. You have to say. Chachamim said, "Don't say Shema. Don't say Shema." So what is he saying? He's saying that if you decide to say Shema, what really are you doing? You're being arrogant. You're being haughty. There's this concept of yuhara, merci ki yuhara. By saying the Shema when you're not supposed to, you're being arrogant. You know what's phenomenal about the halakha l'maaseh? Halakha l'maaseh, I could show you. Tosfot takes this and says, but nowadays we're gonna flip it on its back. Nowadays, if you're a chatan and you're saying tonight I'm not going to say Shema because every other night of the year I have kavanah. Oh, you have kavanah every other night. No one has kavanah anymore. No one has the memory span more than a squirrel or a chipmunk. So don't pretend that you can say Shema. You could focus on the Shema. We know that by the time you get up to the word Yisrael, you're already thinking about your something else. So you know what? Say Shema. Because if you don't say Shema, what you're saying is implicitly that every other night of the year that you have kavanah, and that's yuhara. So Tosfot takes this very concept and says, because of that, nowadays Chatan has to say Shema. This is the fact that ends up being the halakha. Nowadays, Chatan on the night of his wedding says Shema. We don't distinguish, but this is part of the reason. Also, because just say it. Just say the 5 words of Shema Yisrael, Shema Yisrael. Yeah.
In that sense, maybe they are on that level of Nasi in that specific night, because you are.
Okay, so you see, that's actually, this concept is a machloket in our Mishnah. Because you have 2 opinions here. The first opinion says, Chatan im rotzeh likrot kriyat Shema layla harishon koreh. The first opinion says, if he wants to, he can. He can. He's an important person. And then Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says, no, you're not supposed to. If you're not supposed to, don't. Because you're saying something about yourself. By saying it, you're saying that you could control your thoughts. And don't do that. So this concept, later, I could show you the Tosfot. Okay, I'll show it to you when we get up to it at a later time. Okay? Good? Now the Gemara wants to go through each of these cases. What time is it? All right, I think we could do it. The Gemara wants to go through each of these cases to understand why Rabban Gamliel felt that he could bend the law. Okay, so We understand why he bent the law. So now we're going to talk about the fact that he showered for his avilut of his wife. My ta'ama de Raban Gamliel. What's the reason for Raban Gamliel where he showered? Kasavar, it's because he holds aninut laila de Rabanan. He holds that this is the following discussion. There's a machloket elsewhere about the concept of aninut, which, as I mentioned, we know the concept of aninut exists in the Torah. How do we know the concept of aninut exists in the Torah? From this week's parasha, lo achalti be'oni. So it exists in the Torah. Here's the question. Oh, we also are going to see in a moment that it's one day. The aninut is one day. The question is, the night, does that start day 2 or is that part of day 1? Is aninut like a 24-hour period? So if his wife died in the morning, that by nighttime it's still part of the aninut? Or once it gets to nightfall, it's the next day. This is a machloket. Raban Gamliel holds aninut laila the Rabbanan. He holds the aninut of the night is already the next day. And since that night is the next day, it's only rabbinic at this point. And once it's rabbinic, the rabbis are lenient on the situation of an istanis. Now, how do you know it's one day? Dichtiv, as the pasuk says, "V'acharitah kiyom mar." It's a pasuk in Amos talking about, and it says the morning is going to be like the bitter day. The bitter day, it's a singular day. So you see from here that the person needs to have a day of mourning. When does that, is that a 24-hour period day, or is that until sunset? So Raban Gamliel holds it's until sunset. Nightfall, it's already the next day, it's rabbinic, and once it's rabbinic, people on the Zoom, can you hear me? Oh, it's a connection. So that night is rabbinic, uvimkom istenis lo gazru be Rabbanan. And it's not that, since it's rabbinic, I don't need to keep it. It's not. Raban Gamliel is not saying like, Shalom. Raban Gamliel is the rabbis. He is the Sanhedrin. He's the Nasi the Sanhedrin. So what if it's rabbinic? The answer is, when the rabbis made a gezerah, as I explained, the rabbis made a gezerah on not engaging in very enjoyable activity. But the rabbis did not make a gezerah that you have to experience discomfort. So if a shower for this person is luxury, like I said, think spa, think going to jacuzzi, so don't do that. But if it's just taking the sweat off to remove the discomfort, then that is not the removing discomfort, that's what's allowed. So that's why it matters. If it's from the Torah, you can't distinguish, you can't be lenient. But since we've entered the rabbinic time period, then the rabbis made this distinction in their gezerah. They said, no bathing for pleasure. But if the person is bathing not for pleasure, then it would be allowed. Okay? This is the opinion of Raban Gamliel. Uvimkom istanis lo gazru Rabbanan. Rabbanan did not make a gezerah for istanis. Let's keep going. I want to finish the section tonight, so I'm gonna push a little bit more. Let's say no questions. Uchshemet Tevi Avdor. Remember the situation of Tevi. His servant, died, and he accepted words of consolation for him. Tana Rabbanan, we learned in the Braita. Okay, guys, I need energy. Let's go. Energy. Tana Rabbanan, we learned in the Braita. Avadim ushfachot, for a person's servant or a maid called fat. En omdim alehem b'shura. They do not go through the practice of avelut. The practice. Has anyone seen the practice of a shura, the rows? They do this in the Bet Kvarot. What happens is at the very end, after the burial, you have all of the visitors stand on 2 parallel rows, and the mourners walk through them. The idea is that, like in our Kanisa, the way we do it is like the mourner stays there, and then everyone just like walks in front of them. That's not what they would do in the Bet Kvarot. In the Bet Kvarot, to make it easier, and probably just logistically, it makes a lot of sense, everyone would line up, and the mourner would walk through to see everyone. And as he's walking through, they're giving him words of consolation. So the Braita says, what happens if someone's servant dies? We don't do this. We don't do this process because that would be giving words of consolation, and we don't do it. And omdim alehem b'shura, we don't stand in the rows for them. And omrim alehem birkat avilim, We don't say the blessing of mourners. We don't say that. We don't do any of the berachot that they would say for a mourner. You don't say hamakom yinachem etchem etuch sharav le'sinu Yerushalayim. You don't give the tanchumei avelim. You don't do any of that. Maaseh umeta shivchato shel Rabbi Eliezer. I love this Gemara. I find it hilarious because I don't know. Sometimes when okay, you'll see why I find it hilarious. Maaseh umeta shivchato shel Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer's cold fat died. Okay, his maid died. So what happens? Nichnesu talmidav lenachamo. His students came to give him consolation. His kofat died, and now they're coming to give him a consolation. So what does he do? So he saw them coming. So he left. He went upstairs. What are these guys doing? They're coming to ask me. They're coming to do the nichum avelim. They're not supposed to. So he went upstairs to the bathroom. So ve'alu acharab. No, not the bathroom. He went upstairs. Ve'alu acharab. They came upstairs. What are these guys out of their mind? Nichnas an pilon. So he went into the side room. Nichnesu acharav. They followed him. Nichnas the traklin. So he went out on the balcony. Nichnesu acharav. They followed him all the way over there. Amar lahem. He said to them, Kimudumeh ani she'atem nichvim beposhrim. I thought that you would get burned with even warm water. Achshav iatem nichvim afilu bechameh chamin. But I realized you don't even get burned with boiling hot, scorching water. You guys don't take a hint. I thought you would take the hint. I give you some warm water, and you would understand. Don't step forward. But I'm pouring boiling water on you guys, and you still don't get the hint. You guys are clueless. I see you coming. I left this room. You follow me to this room. You follow me to this room. You follow me to that room. What's wrong with you? Lo kach shaniti lachem. Haven't I already taught you? Avadim u'shvachot en omdim alehem b'shura. With servants and maids, you should not do the nichum avelim, which is pretty funny. It's like, bro, you can't take the hint. Sometimes you tell this guy and a girl, sometimes like, I don't think she likes you, like even this concept of sometimes you think someone would get burned with even a little bit warm water, but no, even boiling water, they don't get the hint. So it's just how do you say? It's like a funny way to say that, like, there's a reason why I'm running away. If you see me running away, stop following me. There's a reason why I'm doing that. Okay? So what does he say? So what is the halacha? What should you do for someone that lost a servant or a maid? If someone lost a lot of money, let's say his ox died or his donkey died, where his car died, something like that, you could say, Hashem should fill your pockets. Now whatever you lost, Hashem should fill it up. So that's what you could say. That whatever you lost, Hashem should refill it, that you should get it back. Why? What's the issue? We already said. Why is it that you have to make it so impersonal? That a person's servant died and you have to say, Hashem should fill whatever you lost. Instead of saying, I'm so sorry for your loss. Why? Very good. Because people don't know the arrangement of this guy that's living in your house. Maybe you adopted him. Maybe it's a long-lost brother. Maybe it's a long-lost relative. Maybe it's someone that was an orphan that you brought into a home that you've accepted as yours. We don't know who this person is. So if you accept the tanchumin in a loving way, like it's a relative, people are going to assume it's a relative. And then you're going to have to get issues if someone's going to marry into that family. But if you make it very impersonal, that like, you lost some money, you should get some money back, it's clear that, okay, this was an eved. So this was the situation with Rabbi Eliezer. Raban Gamliel accepted it for his tevi, but Rabbi Eliezer started. He ran. He was on a loose. He ran upstairs, and they followed him all the way. Okay, I want to do one more. We'll do one more. Tani Eidach. We learned in another brayta, the machloket about what you say. We just said one opinion of what you say for shivcha or an eved that passed away. So here we have a brayta that says Tani Eidach. We learned another brayta. Avadim u'shvachot ein maspidin otam. We don't give a eulogy for an eved or a shivcha that died. You don't give a eulogy. Rabbi Yosef says, Im eved kasherhu. But if he was a learned person, if he was a tamid chacham, and he was really did a lot of good things, omrim alav. So this is what you are allowed to say. You're allowed to give the following eulogy. Hoi ish tov, oi, woe that we lost a great man, v'ne'eman, he's trustworthy, v'ne'enem yigio, He's someone that enjoyed the fruits of his hard labor. Amrulo, they said to him, Im ken ma hinachna laksherim. So what's left? That's the best eulogy. I dream for a eulogy where someone says a good man has died, a man that was trustworthy, a man that's been accomplished, and he was able to accomplish things in this world. What are you leaving for someone else? So you machloket. Rabbi Yosef says if he was a kasher person, you're allowed to say this, and the response to him was like, no. Once you start, like that's the eulogy. Okay, so not practical anymore. We don't have avadim. We don't have the situation of people being owned. So these halachot don't apply. But we do learn the sensitivities of yichus, of being able to know clearly who is Jewish, who is not Jewish. Okay. I want to do a little bit more, but I'm going to stop here. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So Be'ezrat Hashem. So the key thing from tonight's Gemara that I want to make sure we all walk away from is the concept of osek bemitzvah, patur mitzvah. Let's say it together. B'shivtecha b'vetecha, prat laosek bemitzvah. Uv'lechtecha v'derech, prat lachatan. So what we learn from here is that b'shivtecha b'vetecha, you say Shema when you're sitting in your home. And you're sitting in your home. But if you're doing a mitzvah, you don't need to say Shema. Uv'lechtecha v'derech, and you're going on the road is when you say Shema, but if you're involved with God's work, you don't have to say Shema. And like there's many examples of someone who is actively involved with the mitzvah, it's so much so that they won't be able to say Shema. That's okay because of osek mitzvah patur mitzvah. Okay? Azak Baruch everyone. We'll see you next time. Azak Baruch.